Hi, everybody. It's Michelle Jackson. I am here with the December Pen Posse Roundtable, and we have an amazing topic we're going to be talking about today for 2 hours. We have a great group of writers, authors who are sharing these 2 hours with us to share some information with you about how they are publishing and marketing their book. This is a big deal because this is something that is often brought up on the table, on the Pen Posse Roundtable where we're talking about how do we marketing our book. So really excited to have everyone here with me. Really excited that we can do this together this morning. And also that our writers are here to share. So let's get them on the screen and then we're going to talk a little bit about this topic. Hi everyone, how you doing? How you
All
doing?
right. How are you,
Saturday
Michelle? How you
morning.
doing?
I know it's early, but we are here
Hey.
to talk about such an amazing topic, and that topic is identifying and overcoming the hurdles to book publishing and book marketing. And so we're all either published authors or I think we're all published authors on the screen. Is that correct? But we're also other things. We are helping others publish books. We are coaches. We are hosting book affairs. There are just so much going on here in when it comes to writing. And so I wanted to bring this elite group of writers together because I know they will share with you what they're doing. And I know that there are so many authors or so many aspiring writers out there who are looking for advice. How do I sell my book? How do I publish my book? How do I do this on a budget? And I know that's a big question. How do we get around the gatekeepers if we want to go the traditional route? Should I go the traditional route? Should I self-publish? I see these questions all the time on the Black Writers Workspace. These are important questions. You're not asking questions that no one else is asking. You are asking very important questions. And so we have all collectively had to answer those questions in one way or another over the course. So we're going to very quickly introduce ourselves, and I'm going to start by introducing myself. I'm Michelle Jackson. I'm the founder of the Black Writers Workspace and direct-to-author.com. I am also now the owner of Jackson Publishing Group, which is an imprint of Bright Communications, and we do independent publishing. So really excited about that. I have 3 books. One is The Heart of a Man that I published in 2010, self-published, well, vanity published, and we'll talk a little bit about that in 2010. Then The Heart from Darkness to Night was published in 2020, and which actually kicked off why I started the Black Writers Workspace because it was 2020 and I couldn't go anywhere and I couldn't sell my books. So we were in house. And so I decided to start the Black Writers Workspace. And then last year, I released a book, a comic book called Poppy Makes Cajun Popcorn Magic. So I'm in New Orleans. And so we will be hosting our book fair here in May. Look forward to working with all of you. And so I just wanted to make sure you get a chance to meet me. And you can always connect with me on the Black Writers Workspace. Julia, introduce yourself.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Julia Royston. I hail from Jeffersonville, Indiana. I am an author, publisher, coach, and consultant. I have written 90 books. 88 of them are already published. 89 and 90 will be published at the end of the year. So, I can't talk about all my titles. And how did I publish? Vanity Press first, and then I didn't like the process, and then I established my own company, and to date have published 250 plus authors. So that's where I started.
Excellent. Excellent. Andrew?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Andrew Snorton out of the Metro Atlanta area. Since my debut in 2017, I've published 4 books, self-published. I've also published an audiobook series, which is a 5-piece audiobook series. Again, based out of the Metro Atlanta area, and looking forward to being a part of a great day with some great authors, and of course, great aspiring authors.
Excellent. Manny?
How's everybody going? My name is Manny Morales. Um, I have one book. It's called Love Is Our Magic. I published in January. Was it last year? Anyway, um, I'm in Florida, Jacksonville. Um, um, yeah, and I'm a publisher. Well, no, I'm not a publisher. I'm an author, aspiring model, aspiring actor, do a little bit of everything. So
Excellent. Thanks for being here.
welcome.
Scarlett?
Good morning. I am Scarlett Miller. I am also from New Orleans, Louisiana. I have published my debut novel, I've Been Waiting for You, in August of 21, and the follow-up book came out in July of 22. I'm currently working on my third book, hopefully coming out in February.
Excellent. Quaye?
Good morning. I am Quaye Chapman Reed, and I don't really know if I'm an author or whatever, but I also do business development consulting. I have one book, and it's called Outstanding Black Women of Yellowbusha County, their stories and contributions to a Mississippi community. I am based in the Atlanta area. I'm in Tucker, Andrew, so we'll have to get together. My book is nonfiction, and I published on Amazon.
Excellent. Ms. Kai?
Gotta love that unmute button. I am Naleighna Kai. I'm a USA Today and Essence Magazine international best-selling author. I'm also a literary agent with the Seymour Agency. I am a contributor to a New York Times bestseller, as well as I've been in the industry for over 24 years, and I've helped land deals for people with traditional publishing houses such as Harlequin, Simon & Schuster, Kensington, and Macmillan. And I'm the person that people come to when they're thinking about writing and publishing a book, and I actually help them to do the damn thing. And I'm grateful to be here today.
Excellent. Chyna T?
Good morning, everyone. I am author Chyna T. I have been an author, self-published and self-published, hybrid published, since 2015. I also had an Amazon best-selling author. Within that time, I've published 15 books between urban contemporary, children's, teens, and self-help. And so I also started my indie book fair, which is an independent book fair for all indie and self-published authors so that they can establish themselves within their communities and sell more hard copies. And that is who I am.
Excellent. We got through introductions in less than 10 minutes, y'all. This is what I was asking them to do. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Now let's get to this topic. So those of you out there, a couple of things. You can see us on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to be dropping this on Spotify later today. However, you can drop your questions. So we want to hear from you about what it is that you need help with. We are all just like you, okay? If you are aspiring to write or you've written and you're just saying, how do I market my book? We're going to talk a little bit about that, but we want to get into what's happening in the book industry, in the world of the marketplace, in the book marketplace, because there have been so many books that have been published over the last couple of years. And we know a lot of that has to do with COVID. People were at home writing books, publishing books, whether they were doing it vanity, whether they were doing it traditionally, or whether they were doing it self-published. And I'm going to ask three of you who have worked with each of this to give us a short definition of each of those so that everyone can understand what is vanity publishing. Julia, I know you've done this a million times. Explain to the world what vanity publishing is quickly for us.
Now, this is my own definition. There are publishing companies out there who basically publish whatever you pay for. And they don't necessarily have a full slate of services. Some do, some don't. They may say yes to everything, whatever you pay for. If you don't pay for editing, they're still subject to publish it and let the chips fall where they may. So therefore, there's maybe a lot of added fees, some things unexplained, just a lot of that. But vanity presses have really gotten a bad name over the years. And that's primarily, not having that customized service is kind of my definition, and basically will, non-discriminatory, will publish anything and everything, no matter what it looks like.
And that's important to know, publishing anything and everything, because Amazon will also publish anything and everything.
Exactly.
So there are a lot of sources out there that are not going to hold your feet to the fire about what I call the standards of writing, meaning making sure that your work is good work, not just I woke up, I had a dream, I need to write a book, I'm going to write this book. I'm not going to get it edited. I'm not going to work with a coach. I'm not going to find out how to market it. I'm just going to write it and put it out there. When you put out bad quality work, it hurts us all. It hurts us all, right? So that's why it's important that we have these types of collaborations and we can all talk about book writing and book publishing, because, you know, when we put bad work out there, it hurts all the rest of us. And we want to make sure that we have a standard of writing. Now, using vanity doesn't mean that you don't have a standard of writing, because vanity, publishing companies can help you because they can, you know, it can be a one-stop shop. However, what a lot of us have realized is that there can sometimes be a lot of fees around with that. So, Ms. Kai, talk to us about traditional publishing. Quickly, give them a definition of what that is.
Traditional publishing it used to be the big six, but I think now it's more like the big 4 or 5, because they're like the big fish are swallowing up the little fish. Random House was just bought out by Simon & Schuster, was just bought out by Penguin Random House. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. These are the publishers that we've known for years that have, for a minute, they would buy the books, give large advances, have marketing promotion budgets and things of that sort. But how they've done, Black books have been a little different. It really started with a wave of self-published authors, and like Mary B. Morrison, Zane, Elin Harris, where they started making tracks on their own, and they were selling so many books on their own that the traditional publishers took notice and started sending dollars their way and picking them up. So we had Kimball Lawson Roby, we had Mary Monroe, J.D. Mason, all of I would say the graduate class that kind of paved the way for them to realize, wait a minute, Black people read books. Duh. So there's enough of us that they put us on the New York Times bestsellers list. So now they're trying to navigate all of this diversity, because you have to understand the people who are what we consider the gatekeepers, they're hiring these young college students and they're white, and they don't necessarily have a lot of experience with Black readership, Black authors, and the Black experience. So they tend to acquire books that are more along the lines of what the industry has always published. And so we're trying to reintegrate back into something that at first had blossomed for Black authors, and now it seems like we're trying to fight our way back in. But that's where you've seen us on the shelves, on the Walmart, Target, Costco, because traditional publishers at airports, they put our books everywhere at once. But the stigma is that you have to get them moving within 3 months or they put you on the back list. So traditional publishing houses have been the goal for a lot of people, but a lot of people don't understand that self-publishing, if you really look at it, and that's how I tell my clients. I told you I sold about 40,000 copies of Every Woman Needs a Wife, and I made $1.49 per book. Whereas if I sold about 7,000 copies on my own, and what I make about $5, $6, $7 a book, I would have made the same amount of money. So it may be the goal because you want to have your books everywhere at once. But if you put in a budget and market it in such a way that, hey, this is my guideline, I want to make $50,000 over a 5-year period or whatever, I need to sell this amount of books per year, you can also make that same amount of money self-published. So I always tell people to start off self-published. So when you sign with a traditional publishing house, you know what you're getting and you know what you're giving up.
Excellent. There you go. We have heard about vanity publishing. We've heard about traditional publishing. Now, what is self-publishing? Self-publishing. Anybody want to throw your hat in to define this? Chyna T, you want to talk about self-publishing?
Self-publishing, I feel it, in my opinion, it is a go-to for a lot of new authors who don't know how to get in anywhere else, but it is 100% creative control of the author. In self-publishing, you'll be responsible for your cover design. You're going to be responsible for your editing. You're going to be responsible for acquiring your ARC readers and beta readers. You're going to be responsible for everything dealing with marketing that book, finding your target audience, finding the platforms to be able to sell that book. Everything that's involved self, you're going to do it yourself. And if you do not market yourself, then your book will not be known because people will not read what they do not know exists. So self-publish is just that. It requires 100% of the creative control of that author and everything that they put into that to make that book be what they would like it to be.
Excellent. Excellent. Now we have 3 definitions here. And the reason I wanted to do this is because if you are paying to get your book published, it is not a traditional publishing deal. And I want to stress that because I've even had people on the show to say that, oh, I paid such and such and such and I got a traditional deal. No, that's not how it works. The traditional deal is going to give you an advance. They're going to pay you, and then you're going to end up having to pay that back to them before you can get royalties. So let's just make sure that we understand what it is. Now, is Vanity self-publishing? In my opinion, it is. It's just you're getting some assistance with it because that Vanity publisher is not like Julia said, they're not going to do anything for you. They're not going to, tell you your book is great. They're just going to publish what you give them. So it's important that you know what these three types of publishing is so that you are clear about what you're doing. Now, there are a lot of people out there scamming writers. Okay, so please be careful of who you're working with. Let's get to this first question. It says the number of books that are being published every year has exploded. Okay, we all know this now. According to the latest Bowker data, and Bowker is the organization that provides the ISBN numbers for your book, 2.3 million books were self-published in the U.S. in 2021. Think about that, guys. 2.3 million books self-published, over 4 million with traditionally published. So when you think about your competition, you're competing with all of these books. All right, these are new books, so this is amazing. So, and that's the third year in a row that we've had over 2 million books that were self-published. The reality is, though, is that the publication of so many books has led to an oversaturated book marketplace. And in addition to this challenge, many readers are getting more and more of their information from the internet and from social media. Let's talk with everyone about what are you doing to stand out in this overly saturated book marketplace? Share with us the challenges you have faced in this highly competitive industry, and what are you doing to ensure that your work stands out within your genre? And let's start with you, Quaye. What are you doing to make sure that your work is standing out? And what are some of the challenges you face?
Well, I think my major challenge is my book is really not a novel. It's a compilation of 45 different articles about women and men who've made a positive impact in their community in Mississippi per se. But what I'm doing is focusing on Black history, on oral history, and on women's history, and showing how their stories can be used to educate and empower significant readers. I'm doing podcasts, presentations, book fairs. I'm focusing on how to use memoirs to tell your story. I'm encouraging people to do what I've done because what I've done can be duplicated in any community.
Excellent. Excellent. I love that. Podcasting, great way. I'm going to be making my list.
I focus on churches, book club events. I promote to book clubs, libraries, networking, all of that. I mean, I'm sure everybody's doing a lot of the same things.
I think a lot of people are doing some of the same things, but a lot of us aren't doing it in the right order in some ways. And so we come out of the publishing, part of this, the creative part of it is what I say. And we stay in the creative mode too long, and we don't understand that we have to shift from creative to entrepreneur, to thinking about how to sell, building strategies, those types of things. And a lot of people don't want to do it. Now, I get that. I get that's why people go to traditional routes. Like, I don't want to do any of that. But we're going to tell you a little later that even on the traditional side, you still have to do a lot of this. So it's very important that you understand that when the creative side of the book writing process is done, now you have to put that entrepreneur hat on, and you have to start thinking about how to sell your books. Manning, talk to us about some of the hurdles that you've seen and how do you stand out in your genre?
Well, just selling in general. Like, I don't have a traditional publishing company. She really just helped me get it on Amazon because I had no clue what to do. So she helped me with the cover, and then she helped me with getting it on Amazon. But for the most part, I've been marketing by myself, promoting myself. So what I'll usually do is I'll go to different events, and they're not just author events. They're like just vendor events. I'll be vending with people that are selling scented candles or um, natural body stuff, and just get out there. I mean, I don't really sell a lot, but it's my book is still getting out there. People are still seeing it. They see me. Um, and I try to sign up for different events. When I first published, I tried to travel as much. Been to North Carolina to a book uh, event, and people were like, "It's a small book event. Don't go." I'm like, "Why not?" Because that's how you get your name out there. Even if as small as it is or as big as it is, it doesn't matter. Your book is somebody's going to either want the book, or they're going to, "Hey, I seen this book, and this guy, it was different." And being that I write erotica, my genre is a little bit different. So my approach has to be a lot different. Um, your setup as far as your table, kind of gotta like make it stand out with the book. Um, and just a lot of um, I'll come back and get your book, or I'll check it out on Amazon. I'll get a lot of that, and people get discouraged, And if they don't sell a book, like they'll pay for an event and not sell a book. Like most people will be like, "I just wasted that money." It's not a waste because people still seen your book. People still came to your table, even though they just took a card or they talked to you for a couple minutes about the book. It's still out there. So
Absolutely. And I want us to make sure that we really do deal with this issue of talk about book marketing, because Black Writers Workspace, 16,000 plus writers on the private group. We're constantly talking about writing and publishing. And there are a lot of people who've never published before, and they come out and they say, "I'm going to get a traditional publishing deal and sell 10,000 copies." And yes, I want them to do that. I want them to do that. But the reality is that's a hard lift. And you have to be willing to get yourself out there. So if you are an introvert and you write a book, you can't go hide. You got to still go out.
That's how it
You got to
was
go
when
live.
I went to your event. That was my first event, the Black Ink. That was my 1st event after I published. Oh, I feel like I bombed, and everybody's like, "No, you didn't bomb. But like I was really shy because I was an introvert, and I'm trying to get out there. That's why I started modeling, and like I keep books in my car. Um, I sold 2 books at the wireless telephone store. I was talking to a lady. She was like, "Oh, I want to buy a book, and my friend wants to buy a book." Like everywhere you go, you're your own seller, so you have to market.
Yes.
You have to be out there. You see somebody, "Hey, do you read books?" Or just that's how you sell it.
Absolutely. Scarlett, talk to us. Talk to us about this world of, you are your brand. And so what are you doing? What are some of the hurdles that you've run across, and how have you overcome those hurdles?
So also I'm self-published. So it's really about talking to people. It's about doing the events, um, and doing diverse events, trying to go to different things that you wouldn't, like Manny said, not just book events, but sometimes just vendor events. It's also about attending those events, even if you're not a vendor, and talking to people, passing out your information. And word of mouth works really well. I work with book clubs online. I work with influencers and Instagram, and sometimes just talking and interacting with people. I posted on something. It was a random thing, and the person was just like, "The way you wrote this was good. Oh, I see you're a writer." And then from just a post on a random page, I got like 6 or 7 sales from. So it's really just about getting yourself out there, talking to people,
Right.
and not, you have to get over the introvert. I sometimes can be introverted too, uh, but you got to put that aside if you want that book out there.
All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Andrew, now you are a PR person. You're like me. So I own a PR company. Andrew's a PR person. We deal with the media. It's sometimes a little easier for us because we know how to speak that language, of the media. I was on the news last week talking about my book. It's not always something that everybody wants to do because, the media is going to call you 24 hours before, and say, "Be here in the morning." And if you are an introvert, that's going to be a hard lift. So you always got to be on. Talk to us about what you do. And I love what you do because, and I'm going to say this, you were in Birmingham, my hometown, at a book fair. I didn't see no coverage of the book fair, but I saw you on the news. I was like, how Andrew on the news and the book fair ain't on the news. So talk to us about using public relations and some of the things that you've had to overcome, and how do you stand out in your genre?
Gosh, well, just like everybody said, it all starts, you have to be dedicated to the craft because things do not happen overnight. And even if, quote, you know what you're doing or best practices, like in press and media, you can send stuff out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks out and not hear anything. And I remember, to your point, last summer when I did a signing, didn't hear anything until the week of. And then I had a television interview the day before. And then when I did my signing, the media came on site. So we've always heard you got to stay ready. You have to. Goodness, there's so many media stories, but like I'll say this to keep it simple: dedicated to the craft, be open to being where readers are. That means, like other people said, go to book clubs, do events at a library, go and be an active participant at a book festival. If you get a chance to speak at any event, book festival, whatever, because we know people at times are impulse. They will gravitate based on what your topics are, to just, if they feel like they can draw a connection. We've all heard business is personal. And at times you can have the greatest work and they might not connect with the work, but they connect with you and they see your drive, your motivation, your passion. And all of a sudden, as other people said, you'll get support from unexpected sources. And in regards to media, social media is a wonderful tool, but a lot of authors fall in the trap of it being the only tool. It is not the only tool. Everyone in here can speak to multiple diverse different ways of approaching things. Social media is part of the puzzle. It's not the only puzzle, because I'll say this as I wrap up. We have to understand there's a larger universe of people we don't know versus what we do know. There's people at the universe that we don't know who will still read a newspaper, still read a magazine, still listen to a radio. They may hop on a podcast or what have you. And even if we're not comfortable in those things, we have to be open to using multiple approaches to cast a wider net. And it's just like fishing. The wider net you cast, the more fish you're going to get.
You know, I love that you're saying this because, you know, it's important that we all understand that, especially when you are under the title of self-published, it is all on you. So you have to build a brand. You have to stand behind that brand. And it's not always easy. And I want to speak to that a little bit. I want to spend a little time talking about this idea of getting beyond your own insecurities to go out and push these books. It is tough. You know, I do a podcast. I get up on Saturday morning. I invite everybody out. I don't know how many people are going to come on. I remember when I first started this, we would have 10 views the whole time, 10 people. That was it. I mean, on all the different channels. And now we're getting hundreds, even thousands of views. But it is very intimidating. Somebody want to talk about how they had to literally overcome some major challenges to get to a place of comfortability with, you know, promoting the work. Anybody have a good story they want to share so that our authors out there who are afraid of being this wide open, this exposed, how do you do it? And some of the better people who are out, some of the people who are really good at this marketing thing, and I love what you said, Andrew, about social media. Social media is one tool in the toolbox. It is not the toolbox, okay? It is one tool in the toolbox. Too often, we depend solely on social media to promote our books when we are missing opportunities for email marketing, which is my favorite. Sending out a good email market piece can go a long way. Traditional marketing, PR, influencer marketing, as Scarlett talked about. Those are people who are reading books out there, and you pay them and they will read and talk about your book on Instagram. That helps a lot. But also book fairs and speaking engagements and, you know, putting a QR code on a t-shirt. I've seen all kinds of things. But how did you build yourself up to get the courage to do this? Anybody want to talk about that?
I'll go ahead and talk about it. I don't think I had to build myself up. It's always been in me. I'm gonna be honest. I'll just be honest with you. To be able to present self to the world, I never had to do that, but I definitely go to all platforms. Social media, honestly, being the last platform that I use to market my books or do anything I do. I actually be out in the community. I do the podcast interviews. I'm booked on stages. I'm speaking. I'm on lives. I'm on TikTok live. I'm on tag any network that got a live. I'm on lives. Talk about my books. I get out there to let people know that, for one, I am an author. For two, these are the books that I write, and if you're interested, this is where you can find them. So the only obstacle I've had actually was the influx of the authors that came in that maybe not have been good writers, kind of set back a lot of great writers in terms of people wanting to read that work or continue reading that genre. That is the only challenge I'm having, is to find consistent readers that want to, stay as a consistent reader based on the genre that you're writing in, right? But in terms of getting out there to the world, I actually try to do as much everything I can outside of social media, and using social media as my last tool to be able to market my books to everybody. And it actually works wonders, especially when I'm able to get on stage to get booked. I actually sell more books at those events than I would say if I was on social media trying to promote, ebooks. I sell way more hard copies than I do ebooks. I'm not gonna hold anybody. I sell way more hard copies because I'm in way more places, way more stages, so many different things where I can do that more hard selling versus ebook selling.
Excellent. Ms. Kai, you want to add in?
I learned from someone who didn't even read my books. It was my brother. And I had a book signing in Chicago, and it was my first one. And there was nobody there. They had advertised and did everything. This is 24 years ago. And my brother took my book, and he stood outside the store, and he proudly proclaimed, has never read my books, by the way, even to this day. He doesn't read like that. My sister wrote this book. You all need to read it. She's right inside. He did that, and he blasted it out there. And all of a sudden, I was late getting back to work because this was on my lunch period. I was late getting back to work because all of a sudden there was a line. And people started coming in and buying the book. He believed in my book, hadn't read it. He just knew that I did it. I say cover your own backyard. People say family doesn't support. So you're asking family for money. No, ask them for support. Support is they may not read your book, but they know some people who read. They work with those people, the book clubs. Have them to tell others about, give them promo material. Don't ask them for money. Ask them for support. Cover your own backyard. I started with myself, but then I got a tribe. I have a tribe of authors that are New York Times bestsellers, national bestsellers. People have been in the industry for years, and debut authors. Having that network of people, I'm able to reach readers who are not within my own circle of influence. That means when we release one tribe member, it was 45 tribe members, and we have a main core, we have tribe alumni, we have the main tribe, the tribe called Success. Each one has a different purpose. But when we release a book, everybody in that tribe, the newsletters, social media, everywhere, get yourself a tribe. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same genre that you write in. Even when you're doing book events, if you write fiction, have the next person sitting next to you, they do children's book or doing nonfiction, because anybody that comes up to you, somebody should walk away with one of the books at the table. Children's, nonfiction, mystery, whatever you need to do, get yourself a tribe. I also have partnered with the Ultimate Women's Expo here in Chicago. They normally have about 100,000 people that attend the event, and they have a lot of celebrities. And that is really considered a non-book related space. We make a killing. Tribe makes a killing at non-book related events because, of course, there's going to be what? Somebody there is going to recognize, oh, I read books. That way you're marketing to people. If you're going to the same book events all the time, you're hitting the same, drawing from the same well as all the other authors, you don't get it. You have to branch out to other places to get your book in the hands of people you would not normally be connected to. That's my spiel. Get a tribe.
I love that. I'm going to get to you, Andrew, no doubt. I can tell you with the 3 books that I've written, and they're award-winning books, self-published, is that there was always this one person, like you say, your tribe, who just became the voice of the book. I remember living in Pittsburgh. One of my husband's, one of his colleagues, a soldier, Tillis. So she's out there watching. Tillis read one of my books and she took it to her church and she sold copies of my book at her church. And she was just a voice to tell people about my work over and over and over again. And I am so appreciative to that. So I 100% agree with this idea of building that tribe. That's what we need to be with the Black Writers Workspace, a tribe so we can support each other. And support is not always spending money. I love what you said, Ms. Kai, because that is so true. Having someone who just say, you know, be the ambassador of the brand for me. Just go out and talk about, I wrote a book, my sister wrote a book, my friend wrote a book. That's a big lift for us marketing wise. Andrew?
Yeah, 2 quick things, which kind of piggyback off the other points. I'll say this for anyone who's apprehensive or nervous or whatever. I'll say this. Think about what it took you just to get your story from abstract to concrete. You know what it took to got there. And so you had a belief and confidence that you could get it done. Now you just transfer that to having a belief and confidence wherever you are. You know your story better than anyone. And who can better tell about it than you? And when people, family, what have you, see you consistently doing that, you never know where your help is going to come from. I've been very fortunate, you know, speaking regarding the tribe piece, there have been family members, there have been friends, but then there's people who quote, I had no clue were paying attention to me. And all of a sudden, you might want to consider this. You may want to consider that. And one real short story, I did an event in Greensboro, North Carolina, linked up with an author, and she's the one who referred me to an event at the DeSable right there in Chicago. So you never know where your help is going to come from. But as others have said, if you aren't willing to put yourself out there, just like you put yourself into your book, audiobook, whatever, no one's going to know, and no one's going to be able to help you unless you're showing you have a belief and confidence, and as other people alluding to, consistency in getting your narrative out, getting your message out, being in traditional spaces, being in non-traditional or creative spaces, because you never know where you can get your help.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point, Andrew. Great point. You have to stay open when it comes to selling anything. Remember, we are selling a product, everybody, and the product is our book. This is no different than selling any other product out there. A car, furniture, anything. The same idea. You have to know your target audience. You have to know your marketing. I mean, you have to build a marketing strategy. You need to have a voice that speaks to your audience, and you need to stay open. You have to advertise. Okay, you have to advertise, and whether you're doing it or you have people doing it for you, that strategy of selling a product is in place. So if you own a business and you sell a product or a service, you should know you have to deploy those same ideas when selling a book. But let's get to this question, because I love this question, everybody. This is crime fiction media. My gripe is that I've tried to do a book tour with all Black bookstores, Black owned bookstores. It's shocking, most not open to authors from out of state. I will say this, I think it's more than just not being open to authors out of state. A lot of them aren't open to self-published authors either. I have worked with many and tried to say, hey, let's do events or let's do this. It's like, well, we only carry books that comes from traditional publishers. So now you have a challenge where you of course have more books written by Black authors that are self-published than traditionally published. Yet our bookstores lean heavily towards those traditional books because they come with marketing dollars. I get it, but this is a challenge. So anybody want to talk about their experience? And let's everybody turn off your mic if you're not speaking, because I'm hearing some feedback. But Talk about your
I will.
experience trying to do this.
I
Um,
will. So let's look at it from a business point of view, because all of us are in the book business. That's number one. We have to consider that we're in the book business. Okay. So one of the primary ways that bookstores, with several ways, you're either on consignment. Okay. You either have your books there on consignment if they sell it, whatever. If a bookstore is open to you and they allow you to be in the bookstore and you pay a fee per hour, that's another option. And then another option is you run your book through their cash register. So one of the main reasons why people want the bookstores want traditional houses now, Ms. Guy, you can jump in, and it's because it usually already comes as a discount. They can return them if they need to. Okay. And if it's already 50% off, so let's use round numbers. $10 is the amount of the book, right? Let's just whole numbers, wrong numbers, but we just use that. For a bookstore setting, you normally have to mark it off at least 45 to 55%, half. So let's just say $5. Okay. And then if they have it on their shelf, or if you have it as an event, if they're running it through your cash register, then you're splitting it. If you have it on the shelf, they usually are marking it back up to $15 so they can make a profit. So, okay. So if you're coming in just doing a book signing there, sometimes you're not paying per hour. So now they got the lights on, they got the gas running, they're doing the marketing that you're going to be there. You taking up space that they're there. Okay? Your job is to make sure that you're making it a win-win situation. It's got to be a win. So either you have a connection in the city, or you're going to pour money into marketing to help them promote and get you there. You're going to leave books so they can make a profit off of your book, or you're going to run it through their cash register. So you have to look at it from a win. And of course, if you're in the city, that means that you are connected to the community there. If you just run in, sell books, make your money, and run back out to your state, they're not going to feel like they're getting that repeat business as they could if you were local to that community. They could sell to you. It could be complete. Go down the street, take 2 blocks, and go to ABC bookstore, and my books are in there. So you're driving traffic to them in the local area. So they're more likely to support a local author, traditionally are not, than somebody who comes from out of town, gets the money, runs and goes, and all of that. So look at it from a business point of view. Yeah. And then sometimes the door is open. So I have books in a bookstore in Greensboro. I have books in other places across the country. I've had books on post in Fort Hood with Words Unite bookstore. So I've done it, but it's got to be a win-win on both sides. They've got to know that you're promoting as much as they're promoting, and not just making a stop, getting money, and go.
You know, Julie, absolutely. I'm sorry, Kai, Miss Kai. I know you're gonna. I'm sorry, Chyna. I know you're gonna chime in as well. But I think there still is this confusion about Black owned. It just feels like Black owned independent bookstores should support Black independent writers. I think there comes this idea of, and I get it. It's all about money. It's about dollars. It's about the numbers. We all know it is.
It's a business.
But it's a business. But I think that there's just this assumption, and these are the things that we need to demystify for these writers too, that is not that clean of a situation when you're trying to do this. It's not just,
I mean, it's nice. It's very nostalgic. It's very warm, and I got your back, you got my back. But then you got to understand, how much shelf space do they have?
Right.
How much space is in? I mean, bookstores that I've seen, I'm like, well, could we have an event there? And I cut it with you 50-50. You get 50, I get 50. If we had a ticketed event or a registered event, but they don't even they may not have space. They just got space enough for the books. So there's a whole lot of things to consider besides the nostalgia, warm glow feeling. I got you, my
absolutely,
brother.
Absolutely, Chyna.
I think one of the biggest things about the aligning with any bookstore period is people want to do that, but at the end of the day, they really don't. They're not coming in with a marketing plan. I think sometimes you need to present the marketing plan, because if you're gonna go to this store and you want to be able to get in here and sell your books, they need to know how you're going to be able to market this book to their community. You have to get a marketing plan together. If you don't have a way for us to sell your book, we would love for you to come get it signed, whether it's a independent publisher, whatever. But if you don't have a way for me to sell this book, it's still a lose on my end. So we need to start with just, oh, okay, I want to go to this bookstore and partner with them because they're Black owned. No, I need to know who this bookstore serves. What is their target audience? Because my book genre may not be for who comes into this store. A lot of Black owned bookstores that I run into sell a lot of historical Black books for, dealing with our history, certain topics. I had urban street books. They were not carrying no dope selling books in their store. You see what I'm saying? So, and then if they did, how they don't have a target audience for that. You see what I'm saying? So, because if you do your research, you'll say, okay, this bookstore has this audience. Let me see which books in my repertoire. What do I have on my shelf that I can go here and market this book? If you don't have anything like that, and this store doesn't sell anything that you're writing, I'm not saying to not go that route. All I'm saying is to just give them a marketing plan so they can help sell your book, so they don't have to be twiddling their fingers trying to figure out how they're going to get your people to your book fair when you do come do the book signing. How are they going to attract people there? They want you to win, but you got to help them win, because you know your book and you know your audience. And you have to align that every time you go to and try to partner with anybody. I had a bookstore. I had a indie bookstore. I had an indie bookstore in Tallahassee, Florida, and it was all Black authors. I kid you not, all Black authors only. And it was great. And the thing about it is, I thought it was going to be great in Tallahassee, down the street from Florida A&M, because that's an HBCU, and it failed. They don't want to read. They did not. And then Florida A&M itself did not want to help me promote, because they sell books themselves in their bookstore. So they wasn't going to send people to my store to buy these books from Black authors, because they have books in their own store from traditional publishing houses. So it kind of killed my bookstore, and I had to end up closing it in 6 months. But I never had any authors reach out to me to come do a book signing, and I was right there. I would have loved that. You see what I'm saying? So it's just all about marketing and knowing your target audience of what you're trying to do. And if you're able to give them that marketing plan, if it's a good pull, then they will probably pull you in for a signing.
Also, bookstores are not very hot, guys. I mean, no offense, but I ran malls for 10 years. And when you're selling a product where you're going to make dollars on it, each, I look at everything from a perspective of how much is going to cost for me to cover all my operational costs, my salaries, my insurances, my rent. How many books do I have to sell? And I look at every product this way. And I don't, I'm a book I'm a business advisor. So this is never to say don't do a business, because I don't believe in telling people that. But I do think that we have to look at things from the perspective, just like what Julia said and what Chyna T is saying. Is there demand? Is there market ability? How is your competitors going to work with you in this market space? How many books do you have to sell to keep the lights on? Those are the things that these bookstores are looking at. Now, I say that, and on the other side of that, there's a side of me that says, but if more Black people are self-publishing, then Black bookstores need to have something that we can work together on. Because I have reached out to Black bookstores and said, I will bring the Black Ink Book Fair here. And I've got, we've got a community, but they're not as interested unless I'm bringing in a best-selling Black author. So, there is a line there. We can't, it's like, felt like we're talking out of both sides of our mouth. We pro-Black, we here down for each other, but if the numbers don't match, don't mesh, then I ain't too down for you. So anybody, Andrew, you had your hand up. What do you say about this?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. I think, and this kind of leans on the press end, but I think about bookstores, Black owned and otherwise, that I'm in, and I'm in other places other than the state of Georgia. Part of it is having that press and media kit so you can document, this is who you are, this is what you've done. And then it helps address the question, how is it that what you've done aligns with either that venue's target audience or encourages them to expand the audience? So that way, again, it's the whole casting a net. And then it's where, like others have said, you've got to go ahead and show that you're going to do your part, they're going to do their part. And then from that, when other authors know, hey, I can come here, you are driving traffic, you are driving, and we know it's about building relationships. To your point, that was raised earlier in regards to, being close to a college campus, and some college campuses across the board are very insular. We know a lot of them are aligned with Barnes and Noble, and it's like that can be either hit or miss. But it's still, to me, about, just like others have said, what is it that you've done? Does it align with either that venue's audience, which is going to be an automatic draw, or can you, for lack of a term, encourage that, hey, look, this might be your core audience, but we need to diversify your audience. And here's how my work, or here's how any of the other authors on here, here's how our work builds in another audience that you have not tapped into. So now you're helping the venue cast a wider net and take care of the lights and what have you. And now they're going to be more open to working with you. But we know it doesn't happen overnight. It's not an easy process. And like people said, you would hope by default it's going to happen, but we know that doesn't always happen.
Now let's talk about, this is for Quaye here. Quaye wrote a book where she did a collaborative or a collective of information. And because of her work with a university in Mississippi, correct, Quaye?
Yes, that's right.
That university actually put your book on display. Talk to us a little bit about that. And the reason I want to talk about this is because, and it goes back to this bookstore, not, who's going to open the doors for us. Sometimes we have to create our own avenues. Okay. And this is important for us as writers to understand that. Look at who you are, what you're doing in your life, and where are those avenues. If you are a teacher, then maybe, and you're writing children's books, you have an avenue right there. If you are at a university and you're doing something that the university is going to be proud of, then put that in front of them. Give them an opportunity. Create those roles. You're writing romance, and you're in a city that's known for romance. Build on that particular angle. Find an angle, because a lot of us are thinking that we're going to write these books, and then we're going to go into the bookstores, they're going to help us, and we're going to go to our churches and they're going to help us, and we're going to go to all these places. And people are always saying people need content and they need an angle. How is this going to help me now? What does this speak to? Oh, you wrote a book about New Orleans. Okay, well, it's the 300th year anniversary of New Orleans. How do we tie this in? Then you go to them and you say, this is how we tie it in. That's how I get into things. People don't know that, but it's like, how do you get into these, libraries? I always come with a solution to how we can work together. I don't go to them and say, you tell me how we can work. I go to them and say, hey, we can work together in this way. So Quaye, talk to us about your amazing experience, what you've done with your book, because this is a great example of how we have to create those roads, pave those roads for ourselves.
Okay. One thing I forgot to mention too was in terms of marketing was my website. Everything I've done is on my website. So that is also a great marketing tool. But my book started as a newspaper column. So it went from column to oral history project to the compilation, which turned into a book. And then it ended up with a collection in my name, opening at the University of Mississippi, where I went to school and where I worked there for 3 years recruiting students. So I had that connection. But to back up, I started the column on a monthly basis. So 4 months into the column, a professor recommended that he referred my work to the Center for the Study of Southern Culture at the university. And right off the bat, they asked for a collaboration. And it was with much hesitation that I agreed to collaborate because of the history behind the university and the state of Mississippi. So they gave me graduate students who came down, and I should say Yellowbush County, my home county, is about 18 miles from Oxford, where the university is located. So they gave me graduate students who came into the county, and they interviewed Black families, and that project is called Black Families of Yellowbusha, and those oral history interviews are outstanding, and they're already posted on a repository website at the university. So after the students completed that project, I ended up being about 45 articles that were published in the local Water Valley, Mississippi newspaper, and that became my book. I compiled it into a book in December 2020. During that process, I had shared with the students my scrapbooks from my undergraduate years and the 3 years that I recruited at the university. And those items, including my corporate experience with the Wall Street Journal and McGraw-Hill, they asked for like 50 years of my life, and I gave it to them. And that collection opened in archives at the university library in September of 2023. So that has been something that has propelled me beyond just marketing my book. It ended up with my being able to speak at the 2 museums in Jackson, Mississippi. I did the Phyllis Wheatley Poetry Conference. I've gone to the University of Southern Mississippi. So those are other connections from one college to the other. The podcasts, everything that I've done has included the impetus that I got from the university. But as I said earlier, what I've done, everybody has important or significant Black people, women especially, in their community. My book includes articles about women and men, and that's why I say it could be duplicated in any community, because we all know outstanding people who are unsung, let's say. So that also opened an opportunity for colleges to be another venue for me. So I market through Asala. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that organization. I'm a member of the Atlanta Writers Group. So it's all about networking and marketing and selling what I've done, and continuing to reach out to any media or any opportunities. Another thing is to write about your book yourself. If someone is interested in your book, why not write about it? Submit an article to the newspaper, or as well as getting on the radio. So there are a lot of venues out there that can be open based on the stories that you've already told in your book. Lastly, in October, we screened a trailer documentary. So we're working on a full documentary featuring the women in my book.
That's excellent. And that's what I mean by there is a brand that has organically been created here with her book. There is a brand, and all of our books carry a brand with it. And some of us do a great job of connecting the pieces. Sometimes the pieces connect for us. I mean, I have a youth entrepreneurship program. I wrote a book about a kid's book teaching kids how to start businesses. There's a natural connection there, and I can leverage both of those in order to move my ideas forward. So as you write these books, let's talk very, very quickly, almost like a hot round table, of where are some of the unique connections that your book have allowed you to, meaning that, Manning, you write, erotica. Is there an organization that you have been able to connect with? Just very quickly tell us one or two of those organizations for those people out there who are listening, who are writing in these same genres, that may be helpful. This may be helpful for you. Let's start with you, Manny. Anybody, any organization, or that if you haven't connected with them yet, that you know of that you think could be a good connection for you in this genre? You're muted.
My bad. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I said, no connections except for you. I have been to a lot of different events though. There was a art gallery that I used to go to that was like neo soul. They did spoken word, so I usually go there, and a lot of people it does well there. So I used to set up there a lot, but I stopped setting up there for a little while now. But No connections lately. I've been trying to reach out to Zane because she
Yeah,
was the
that could be a good
inspiration.
connection.
So
That could be a good connection.
yeah, so she hasn't reached out. So if she's listening, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of you.
Get it, Scarlett?
But
Anybody? Any organization? Let's quickly go around. Any other organizations? Any? You write romance, correct?
I do. I write romance and para-romance. So besides the Black Writers Workspace, obviously, I've worked a lot with Hot NOLA events. They put on book events at least 2 times a year. So I have participated in 2, and it will be 4 events coming up. And so those events have been very, very good with getting myself out there and selling my books. My local Barnes and Noble has been very good to me. Both they have 2 different locations. Both have done very, very well. Um, where I didn't get just people I invited or people who knew me. I got complete strangers just coming up asking, casting your net out like everyone said, and getting your friends and family to bring people to you is one thing, but it also is great when you can organically get your audience, just people who are interested in seeing something different. And so those events have helped me tremendously.
Excellent. I'm gonna be at Barnes and Noble today at 2 o'clock in Louisiana on Harvey. If anybody wants to come out, doing a book signing, and they have been very open to book signings. Not only that, they asked me to put together kind of a Black History group books to sign books, and they don't care, which is what I love. It doesn't matter how you publish, because as Julia said, they're just gonna put them in on a consignment, those books, sell them while you're there, keep a few while when you leave. But they're coming up with different revenue models to make sure that local authors can get access to their database. So go to your Barnes and Noble if you're looking for a place to do an event. You don't always have to go to just a smaller bookstore. So yeah, that's a great idea. Anybody else want to talk about some unique opportunities? I know Ms. Kai talked about her tribe. These are opportunities to connect with people, with writers, with potential readers. This is a good thing.
Okay, so
Mhm.
Manny, you need to do a search on the erotic book festivals. I've done those with urban fiction. They're a loyal audience, and there's tons of women. They would love you.
oh yeah,
And I can send you a couple your way that they do in
yeah,
the
definitely,
Kentucky area. It's
definitely
a
send them
piece,
my way.
but they come with luggage. For that's how they buy. They buy in luggage.
Okay.
Children's. If you write children's, go to educators. Go to any educator conference. I'm all about. I love bookstores. I love them. But I want to be where 20 or 30, 40, 50,000, the ultimate women's expo and all that. That's where I want to be, where multiplicity of people are. If you write in business, there's all types of women's business events to do that. If you're in romance fiction, the book clubs is where you need to be so that you can sell directly to them. I'm with Chyna. If you speak, you sell. And people are always posting, I'm looking for speakers. And what do you talk about? If you could talk in 15 minutes and somebody didn't show, what would you talk about? Boo, get the title of that book, get your signature speech together and pitch. Now, some are pay to play. Don't get me wrong. Some of them require to pay to be on that stage. But baby, if they bring in the
But it's worth
audience
it.
to you, yeah. But if they bring in the audience to you, it may be worth it. You just have to see that. So, more than anything else, you have to be on the lookout, and you want to get the most bang for your buck. Vending fees as high as the sky. Hear me? But it's worth it if you know that your audience is already there and they've been coming there for years and years and years. You've got the feedback from others. Yep, they come. Yep, they buy. Then that's where you want to really invest your money. Yeah, have them in your car, like Manny says. Be ready to sell in the grocery store. Sell. I've sold at funerals. I've sold at the wedding. I've sold at the barbershop. I've sold at the beauty shop. Maybe I've been in this grind 16 years. Have your book, have your message, have the ways to pay available at all times, and you can sell every single day. Don't wait on Amazon ads. Don't wait on Facebook ads. go directly to the people and sell who wants what you got.
I love
And
it. Now you selling at that funeral, I wanted to see that, but that's a whole nother thing. That's
Well, think
excellent.
about it. If you got family that come from out of town, I mean, it's not any disgrace. Now, I'm not selling it at the casket.
I know.
There's no disgrace to the person who we came to honor, but at the repast, baby, people who come from out of town, family who haven't seen, friends you haven't seen. Girl, I saw you got a, but I want to sign one. Oh, hold on, I'm gone to the car.
I
Just
love
give me a
this.
few minutes. I'm gone to the car. I'm serious. So, you just have to be ready. How committed are you to the message of your book, what it can do for people, the impact it can have? And the hardest one is what my sister in Mississippi's got. Those books are difficult, and if you can connect them to an organization, baby, you got a win-win all the way around. But they're hard to move. Those historical fiction and nonfiction, woo, they're hard. But if you get them in the place where it is, where it happens, and people can make connections to what you've written and where they are, oh, you got to win. You got a huge seller on your hands that a lot of publishers won't touch. Okay.
I want
We
to
definitely, I'm sorry. Okay,
I'm sorry.
Chyna?
I'm sorry. What she said about those stages. Listen at that Atlanta Women's Expo, because I got on stage there, and I was extremely happy about that. I got on a couple of other stages. Like she said, you have to pay to play, but the organizations, depending on what you have going on, yes, that's the best place. So me at a women's event, I definitely took the right books there. So let me tell you, I go there and I set up and I try to gauge the audience to see which books out of my books to put on the table, which goes. Now, in the beginning, I had self-help. We're thinking about a place where women might want to come and self, but they actually wanted fiction. I put the self-help to the back and put the fiction in the front. The fiction went. When the fiction started going, then they started looking at the self-help. So it was all about me trying to gauge what I have before I put every book that I have on this table. I want to see where women are right now and how they're selling. But when I got on stage, that brought them back there for those self-help books, because now they've heard me talk. So definitely, if it's a fee, whatever, get on that stage and talk, because you're going to bring those people to you. They're going to want to know more about you based on the knowledge that you just spoke about that they might not have had an opportunity to ever hear until they heard it from you.
Absolutely. Everything that we're talking about here is about strategy too. I mean, sometimes you have to build the strategy on the fly, but if you are really serious about pushing this book, and I don't want to say this because I've had people to ask me about it. If you self-publish or traditional, if you want to really sell your books, you've got to be selling it all the time. Okay. It's something about this idea that I'm going to write this book, publish it, and then I'm going to push it for 2 weeks. And just, I guess people are just going to come. You just heard those numbers, 2.3 million self-published books in 2022. And so when you're talking about publishing a book, know that this is something you're going to work on every day, even, maybe even every day of your life. You've got to start pushing your books. And it's not just you. Everyone who writes a book has to be their brand, and they have to promote the work. And I think that it's important, if you're smart, you start thinking before you even finish that book. Get a sheet of paper out, start thinking about the connections you can make. Like Quaye, okay, she may not have made those connections herself, but somewhere around it all came together, right, Quaye? And boom, you're in front of all the people you need to be in front of. So I think that this is something that we have to be smart about. If you are writing a book for Black boys or Black men and you've been incarcerated, maybe go back and see if you can get this to the other people you were incarcerated with, or take this into the school system. Think broadly about what you're trying to do. There were a few questions to come in, but we're going to do one thing, and then we're going to get into just talking about some other challenges that we face with these books. So if there are any questions, drop your questions as soon as you can. There were some asking about good market for urban books. What is a good publishing company that markets urban fiction? Anybody want to take that?
You have a lot of publishers on Facebook that are geared towards that urban audience completely. Only that's all they service. So you can find a few of those publishers on Facebook. Like the what is it? I'm sorry, S Vaughn Presents. She's one. Also, the names rolling off my tongue. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm looking at the names. They just not coming fast enough as my brain trying to produce them through my mouth. Okay, but there are a few. There are a lot of urban publishers on Facebook. You're going to be able to run into if that's the genre you want going into. They are hybrid publishers, but they are there. Some of them have some great audiences for those urban reads. I don't necessarily know, and maybe Miss Kai can let us know. I don't necessarily know which traditional publishers focus on a urban, because when I did my research, I've not found a lot of them. So I guess it just depends on the literary agent who's able to market your urban story to a broader audience. So Miss Kai can take that, because I really don't know anything about the traditional publishers who touch on that urban part.
My question is to the person who asked that question. Chyna's exactly right, but also, do you go to urban fiction events? Do you go, if you go as just as a participant, you don't have your book yet, if you just go and find and ask the questions? So go, like the big one, what is that? Detroit Hustle Conference is in Detroit. And then there's another one deep south in Mississippi. There's an urban fiction one coming up in March. So if you get in the room with other urban fiction writers, look it up, find the event. If it's nearby, go to it and ask the people who publish. Did they self-publish? Do they have anybody who does marketing promotions for them? And I just want to say one thing about that marketing promotions. You can have people, as they say, push and pull, but you have to make sure that you promote as well as the author. It's like anything else. The movies that just came out. If you're looking at The Color Purple, the new movie that came out, who's on all the talk shows? Who's on all the blogs? Is those actors. Oprah. Oprah's on tour. Oprah should not have to be going nowhere promoting anything. She but that's not the way it's done. She's done TikTok. She's done videos. She's been on the talk shows, other people's talk shows that she raised. Now she got to go back and promote. She got her own network. So when those types of people stop promoting, that's when we have to stop promoting. And that means never.
Exactly. And I love that you said Oprah, because she was on Colbert show the other night in her purple.
Sherry Shepherd. And Sherry Shepherd's got a picture of her in the audience of the Oprah show. And she's like, oh my God, she's on my show now. I mean, you know, how that whole coming of age and
and this goes back to this idea of your brand. And if Oprah feels that she needs to go out and promote a book when she has her own her movie, and she has her own network, and she's a billionaire and all these things, what do you have to do with this book? You have to promote your book, and it is important. And it's something that's, I mean, let's talk a little bit about this. It's not easy. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this has been an easy ride. Okay. I am someone, I like to be very transparent. I had to make a decision about what was the most important thing for me. Was it selling the books or creating a company to help others sell their books? Because I knew my bandwidth wasn't wide enough for me to do it all. So my book sales probably not as strong as people may think, but I sell my books in bulk. That's what I do. I try to sell my books in bulk. That's why understanding the organizations who can use your books are important, because a nonprofit will buy 100 copies of my comic book for kids. So knowing those types of building those types of connections are helpful. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I am someone who's selling 5,000 books a month. Let's talk about how hard this can be and being realistic about it, because I have people who are on the page who are so discouraged because they haven't sold any books. And it's like, you're not alone. You are not alone. If you haven't sold 10,000 books, you're not alone. If you haven't sold 100 books, you're not alone. And some of us are getting checks from Amazon for like what, $1.50, and
I got one for 3 cents one time. 3 cents.
Exactly. So
wow.
You know, let's demystify. Let's take the flower colored glasses off about how hard this process is. Anybody want to talk about this book selling? Andrew, talk to us about it. And everybody else, let's talk.
I think the thing I have to remind myself is when you're an author, it's about running a marathon and not a sprint. And I think what happens with the number of people, like a lot of us have talked about earlier, it's like, oh, we put it out there it's like if we build it, they will come. It does not work that way. And early on, I had to remind myself that this is a marathon and not a sprint. Other people can here to attest to, you put in stuff for marketing and promotion and have 2 people show up, and then you do a little bit less and you have like 30 or 40. Like it's and as all of us have said, like, and I'm borrowing from business, always be closing or always be selling or whatever. Like every day you've got to drop some type of reminder. I have to remind myself products become household items. Like, how did people find out about Coca-Cola? You heard about it every time. Every time you cut the TV on, or like in the 50s when they did those subliminal messages in the movies by Coke. And as tiring as it can get at times, and you need to, pause and reboot and unplug, it comes back to you have to commit to doing something with your work to the best of your ability, the best of your knowledge base, each and every day and almost any time that you can. Because think about it, people get distracted. People getting pulled 1,100 directions, not just with books, with everything. And you have to remind people, like, it's almost like, I think Derek Jeter said it really well when he played baseball, where he tried each and every time to give the best that he could, because that might be somebody's first time seeing him play. And I think for all of us, a little bit of, humble pie is anytime that we engage, if we work under, this is the first time someone's going to hear about my work and how my work can be a fit for them or someone they know or what have you. You have to do what you can to maintain the commitment and understand it's a marathon. We've had people on this panel been on here, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And I'm sure they can tell stories of all over the place. And then even with them being 20, 25 years in this stuff. So if seasoned vets who still know everybody, you gotta run a marathon and not a sprint.
I want to say about the challenges I faced was when I took a step back from writing, from fiction writing to become a certified coach and step into self-help. Jumping back into fiction was kind of hard because I don't have the same pen name. So I'm not that, I'm not that author that I was. I'm an evolved author. So being able to bring them back to the way I write now versus what I wrote then. Because when I first started writing, you all know when we began, it's like nuck if you buck. It's like a learning process. You're gonna just put it out there, but then it's when you grow in your career, you go back and like, dog, I was so immature at that. But they love that immature writing. They love that immature writing. And so where my writing is now, the challenge I'm facing is trying to get them to transition over to the healed version of me. That other writing, right? The contemporary part that doesn't have the grit that the other, the first part of the writing I did. So that's been the biggest challenge, is getting them used to the new way that I write. That is the biggest challenge for me with my readers and with readers in general, because I just evolved as a writer. But I find more support when I go to events, when I'm able to talk to people, because they don't know the old writing. So they don't have to go reference that back. You know what I'm saying? It's just the people who were there long time ago, transition to now. That's why I'm finding the biggest challenges.
Excellent. And I mean, this is a good thing to just talk about, all the different challenges and things that we have to face and how much work it takes to get these books out. But for the record, it is so well worth it. We have to protect the Black literary world, and we are a part of that. And what you're writing, you're healing yourself, you're healing the community. It is important. And so I don't want anybody to just misunderstand the importance of picking up that pen or opening up that laptop and putting those feelings on paper and continuing to put good work out there. But if this is about, if your success rubric is about sales, that takes time. Okay. If this is about, I'm successful if I sell X number of copies, that takes time. And sometimes you have to kind of humble yourself around that. And this is not just for self-published, this is for everybody, because I know traditional authors, we don't talk enough. All of us don't talk enough about how hard this is. We don't talk enough about how much work you have to put into it. I've met writers who I believe sold so many copies and then to find out they really had. I've talked to authors who tell me about these book deals they get, and when you look at the numbers, it doesn't make sense. It's not as lucrative as it may appear. So I do want to just say to those out there, just keep doing what you're doing. But if you're trying to become a millionaire at this, it takes time. But if you have a great product, you keep pushing it, because I need to know what Julie is writing and what Andrew is writing. It's going to heal my heart. I mean, books have saved me over the years. I need to know what Quaye is writing about. I need to know what Manny's writing about. Those things are saving us as a community. So keep writing. So that's important. Let's talk now. Let's see, we got a question or two coming in. Somebody had asked about, we talked about the publishing, the urban publishing. Let's see what we got here. A challenge I encounter is finding legit, committed beta and art readers. That is a challenge. Now, on my website, authormichelledjackson.com, I have a list of beta readers. It is in an Excel spreadsheet. You can open it up. It tells you if they charge money, if they're free, and what their charges are. That's one start. But beta readers, the problem is sometimes getting them committed. They'll say they're going to read it and they don't. Anybody want to talk a little bit about their experience with a beta reader and how to find good ones?
I got 2 on payroll. I'm just sorry. I got 2 on payroll, and I had 3, but I had to nix one because of the feedback. But anyways, I have 2 on payroll. They're always ready to go. They're very dedicated. I actually advertise as a job, because it is a job. You know, I want people to be dedicated to it. And once I did the interview process, I then outlined the beta process, because I need to understand, for you to understand exactly what a beta review entails and how it's going to help the readers. So I didn't just advertise for myself, but I also got them to be able to help other authors as well. You know, and when they want to do beta readers, they are very, very, very great to have on your team in terms of you writing, because they're going to help me bring that book to the full message that I'm trying to write. And you know, as authors, when we writing, we're just trying to get it out there. Sometimes we don't realize that we're leaving questions that are unanswered in our writing, and our beta readers can come back in, and when they read, they can, if they have a question, they'll help you be able to answer it and go back in and develop that, so that the readers don't have questions after they read. So I haven't had any problems on finding beta readers or ARC readers at all. I just, for me, how I got them to be serious was it's a job, and they're under contract. So this is a pay as you go. Every time that we do this, they're getting paid. This is not something where they have a time. I mean, where I give them book and just wait. They have a time frame to get it done. They've already agreed to it by contract, and everything is already set. So I may not be writing right now, but they're sitting to waiting for me to send them a book. I just think that people need to think of it as a job, and not necessarily try to look for always a free route. There are some that'll do it for free, but they may have stipulations on how long it takes them to review your book, because they're not getting paid, versus you having something set up with a system where you pay your beta readers and they may get you your feedback based on what you're looking for a lot faster and be a lot more dedicated.
Excellent. Danielle said reviews are so difficult to get. Anybody want to talk about something they've done to get reviews for their books? I know now they have services that you could pay for reviews. I don't know how I feel about that, but I do know there are ways to do it. But anybody want to talk about how they get reviews? Anything unique?
Well, I kind of keep in contact with some of my readers, and I remind them to submit a review to Amazon, and some of them will just hit me up and be like, yo, you really understood the assignment. Like, I had to put the book down because it was really, really spicy. So like, just hearing that, you know, makes you, that's what it is for me. Like, the success of this, just hearing people say that about the words that I put on paper is it. So I would for the people that have bought your book, post on social media. Just let them know, hey, you know, you bought my book, regardless of what your review is, post it.
I think that reviews are important. They keep you going, in my opinion. Now, I don't know if anybody else, but I have problems with Amazon putting up my reviews. I don't get them. So It is interesting though, but reviews are something that's very interesting. I do know, like I said, you've got paid services. I don't know. What do you guys think about a paid review?
I don't have a problem with it.
Me.
I have paid for reviews,
Mm-hmm.
especially for fiction. I'm like you, Michelle. I've been publishing 16 years, so I love books. I go to events, but publishing is my big fish. So it does not compare to book sales, although I love them and get them every month. But so therefore there has to be kind of a balance to that. Especially uh, fiction is really the marathon. It is really hard. Once you get loyal fiction readers, you can't get rid of them for life. But
Yeah.
getting them to try a new author, not an experience, not a first time, but a new author that they're not accustomed to reading is very, very difficult. And when you get them, you can forget it. They're yours for life. So I don't have really a problem with paid. You're right. Amazon has a hard time with getting your reviews up there. But the other piece too is that even though all my books are on Amazon, my thing is I want to connect with my reader myself. So that's the reason why I sell to my own online store. Just like Ms. Quaye said, she sells to her website. I'm driving traffic to my store, to my landing page, so that I know who bought it, so I can sell to them again. And so that I hand ask them, okay, you read book 1. Would you be interested in book 2, book 3, whatever? So if you find 5 or just 2 hands, if you find 10, baby, hold on to them. Send them a gift card, send them a something, and send them a Starbucks something, and appreciate all your readers as much as possible, especially your beta readers that you've had. So I really don't have a difficulty with that. But other people may think differently, but I put them on because I know them and I know who wrote it. Then I'm using it for all my promotional material across the board and not just on Amazon.
Now it's funny you said that because yes, you're absolutely right. You got to stay connected to your readers. Now I started directtoauthor.com, which is a platform, a book marketplace where you can put your book and it drives traffic to your site or your choice of how you want to sell your book. And I did that because so many of us have websites and so many of us are finding it more lucrative to buy our books in bulk. That's what I do. I mean, just y'all don't know about everybody else, but I upload my book to Amazon, or I'm going to start using Ingram Spark, and I buy the book in bulk. I don't really depend on Amazon to sell my book. I buy them in bulk. I put them on my website and I sell them. And I make more money that way. I make more money when I'm just out, of course, selling them to people. I don't have any shipping fees and all that kind of thing. But we all do this in our own little unique way. But there is always this debate, especially on the Black Writers Workspace, about Amazon, about, should you use Amazon? And everyone's, a lot of people say, put it on there, it doesn't hurt. But I think people who haven't had books on there may think that Amazon is going to do something special for their book. There are about 30 million books on Amazon. I always say, when you put your book on Amazon, you are competing with the Holy Bible. Everybody, like, it's hard, and it can work for you, but you constantly have to be driving people to Amazon. So this is just another thing that we have to consider. Crime. Did someone have a question? I thought I saw a hand go up.
Yeah, I was going to speak about the pay reviews. I don't have a problem with them. I actually, when I had that bookstore I was telling y'all about, I actually it had a pay review team as well. That was incorporated into the bookstore. So the pay reviews actually went well because they was exactly the reviews that the authors was looking for in terms of, the in-depth of their book. So I don't have a problem with pay reviews if they have guidelines set. Like, I don't want to pay for a review where you're gonna give, a basic reader review. I would actually want to be in like, a little bit more depth so I can understand. So, because that review is going to probably help me grow. So if I'm going to pay for a review, I'm going to definitely be paying for a thorough review versus me paying for you just oh, it's the book was great and that's it. I need more, because why was the book great? Because I need to learn from that. I see crime asks what I pay. What I pay my beta readers is based on word count. So I want to answer your question. So if I give they all have 3 different realms of word count. Anything that's under 25,000, from 26 to 45,000, 45,000 over. So I have 3 different tiers. So whatever word count book I'm sending them, that's how I set the pay. So my pay starts at 45 and it goes up to 80 per read. Okay. And that's what's already set and that's what we already agreed about. So that's how I determine what I'm going to pay. But they still have a 7 to 10 day time frame to get their review back for them to receive their payment. And if the review comes after that time frame, then of course there's going to be a deduction of payment, but they're still going to get paid. So that's how I set mine up in terms of being able to have it so I can have serious beta readers who actually want to do this.
Love that. Thank you so much for explaining that. Let's go back and let's talk about a couple of other things. We only have 30 minutes. This time goes by much faster than people think. Let's quickly talk about this idea of this traditional book deal. You know, what does this mean? Because once again, we're going to demystify, talk about this from a real perspective for those who are adamant about getting these book deals. The reality is that a lot of these book deals are going to non-Black writers. Let's just keep it real. A lot of these book deals are going to celebrities, because celebrities have a high, count of followers. And a lot of this has to do with how many followers you have, because traditional publishers are less likely to put a lot of money in to a writer who doesn't already have a following. I want to stop there because, yes, there are some outliers. This is not going to be the case. You can get a deal and this won't be the case. However, a lot of publishers are more adamant to publish you and give you an advance if you already have a big following, because you then can help them with the marketing. And that's a big deal. I've heard numbers like 25,000. That's something I read in my data that comes up. You have more than 25,000 loyal followers on social media or listeners on your podcast, you are more likely to get a deal. You have friends or family who work at a publishing house. And this is an actual study, so I'm not just randomly telling you this. If you would be crippling, yeah. A lot of people say don't self-publish first, because if you self-publish and you don't do well, then traditional publishers don't want to support you. So as writers, we have all these things to look at. So many things we have to take into consideration. But for those who want to get the traditional publishing deal, and Ms. Kai, you and Julia may be the best to talk about this. I mean, what's your take on it? I mean, what do you say to someone who wants that traditional publishing deal, who has never done it before, that could be helpful for them, and some of the things that they need to be thinking about? Ms. Kai, let's start with you. What do you give us a few ideas about what we should be thinking about?
Well, as a literary agent, one of the things we're taught to look for is author platform. And I look at Instagram, I look at the Facebook author page. Even if you don't have a book, having the foundation there and building an author platform is very important, because sometimes with some major houses, you don't make it past their interns. They look you up. They look to see if you have a website, if you have Instagram, and have some of those places to start, that you've done some type of work in that area. They don't even get to see your work. They look for your name first. And that was news to me when I did the mentorship with the Seymour agency. That when I saw that, I was like, wow, I've been screaming that at my tribe for years. Let's build this brand, build this. Every time there's something that comes out, there was Clubhouse we built that helped to build my Instagram. There's BookBub, there's author, what is that, Amazon, your profile, having people to follow there, all of those things. And I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing to self-publish first. I think it's important that you do that, because then you'll understand the ins and outs of publishing. So when you sign with a book deal, you know I said it before, what you're getting and what you're giving up. Whereas if you go in green, you can put your name to some of anything, and you don't understand the things that are open to you. Like there's some part of a contract that I found out by being with the Seymour agency, which has been in business for 20 years. Some of the top agents in the world come from this agency. that if you hit the when you hit the New York Times bestsellers list, it can wipe out you having to pay back your advance. There's a lot of different things that go in to deals, and having the right agent will help you to understand that. But I encourage my clients, almost all of my clients have independently published first. And that's a very important thing, because I can say this: you learn a lot more on your own, and you build your own networking and your brand on your own first and foremost. The publishing houses, I've had some clients that have been with a major house for years, and they didn't have a mailing list. So they're not going to teach you that part of it. You learn that part of it when you self-publish first.
Okay. So I'm an independent publisher. So as an independent publisher, you keep 100% of the royalties. You're able to have your own account, and you can do it self-published, but you're paying me to do the work. Okay. And have 16 years of my experience. After 16 years in this business, I'm asking more of the traditional house questions, even though I don't pay in advance, because I want to see how invested you are. Even if you pay me to do the work, I want to know what level you're on to even commit to this book. So if you're writing self-help, are you a speaker? Do you speak? Are you a preacher? I ask those questions. Are you ready to coach? Are you wanting to coach? If people want more from you, what are you going to give? My latest book was write the book that builds the brand. So therefore, I'm looking for business owners and business people. Even though I'm not getting royalties later, that's the kind of audience, that's the kind of client I want to work with. So I'm asking more of those questions. And the people who come to me and say, oh no, I don't really do that social media thing. I'm more apt to say, oh Lord, this is more than a notion. Because what ends up happening, even though you may be traditionally published and they've got a machine, because that's the fantasy, is that there's a whole machine getting ready to go into motion. You're going to be on NBC, and you're going to be on Sherry Shepherd's show, and they're going to get you on Jennifer Hudson's show and all that. That's what you're going to be flying to New York. And that's the fantasy that authors have. But then I tell authors, even though your name is on the front, my name is still on the copyright page and my logo's on the back. So therefore, I have to be proud of that and know that it could potentially keep moving, not just referrals, but when somebody turns the book over, I go, oh, okay, BK Royston Publishing, wonder who they are. And it continues to be a marketing tool. But if you're writing because some English teacher told you you couldn't, and Big Mama thought it was a great idea, and some pooking them and said, you should do it, it's going to be a little difficult for me to put all of my resources as an internet radio host and a magazine editor. Now, I'm going to be a little hesitant to say, okay, what is this? Is this a contract for budget, or is this really going to be a lifelong connection? So I'm having more of those same questions that traditional houses have. So you got to think about that. How active are you on social media? Do you just need help, or you don't want to do it at all?
It's funny you said that. Yeah. I just started my own publishing group, and that is a big part of what I'm doing too as an independent publisher. Is I want to read your first 25 pages. I want to know whether or not you have social media presence. I want to know what's your confidence level with getting out there, because like you said, I don't think it's good per se that the traditional publishers are saying, hey, you need to have X number of followers, but I understand it because you are in a very competitive market. So if you just want to, well, and I hear this a lot, and I'm a Christian, so I don't mean to be ugly, but God told me to write this book. And then you get up in the morning and you write it. You don't get it edited. You don't let anybody look at it. And then every time somebody say, hey, you need to make these changes, this is no, God told me to write this book.
Oh God, and those are God's words, and I cannot change that.
Yes, you can.
The Lord gave it to me. I said, well, did God tell you who's gonna buy it? Did God tell you specifically who's gonna buy that book?
Exactly. And I hear that a lot. Well, so it's kind of a situation, right, where as an independent publisher, I completely agree with you, Julia, is turning to some of these ways with traditional publishers, because they get it. They're seeing that if you don't have a following, if you're not willing to speak, everybody I know who has a a best-selling novel, I mean a book, or has been on a best-selling list that I know personally, they work really hard to get those books out there. They're on planes flying from here to there. They're speaking everywhere. So they're not just writing these books and then sitting down. But I will say this, and I want to talk about this very quickly. I go to a lot of events where I'm sitting on panels with non-Black writers, and their experiences is getting their books published is totally different than ours. Anybody else has seen that? I mean, I will sit at a table and talk about self-publishing, and yeah, I really didn't query any agents, and I, the few I did, I got rejected, da da da. And I'm sitting next to a person who says, I wrote one book, I reached out to one agent, I got a deal, I got an advance, and I am just like, am I missing something here? So let's open up our mics a little bit and talk about the differences between being a Black writer and being a non-Black writer and the experiences that you're seeing, because it bothers me. And I haven't heard from a few of you. So just chime in and let's talk about this.
I definitely know what you're talking about. Even sometime when I go to some events, it can be me, Black author back there with books with Black faces on there. And it could be a white author up there. And they will go and flock there. And as soon as they pass by my booth and they see too many Black faces on the cover, they won't even inquire. But they read because they just bought the book from up. You know what I'm saying? They won't even give me an opportunity to come see what the story is about, versus they looking at, even with my children's book, this is a children's book. They see a Black boy on the cover, and that is not what they really want to see with a children's book. I didn't think that I was gonna have as many challenges selling children's books that I have had, because there is a Black boy character on the front. You know what I'm saying? So I have had teachers and they have looked over the book, but when it comes to thinking about buying it or anything like that, it is something completely different for me.
That's the critical race theory. That is, they have to have approval. So a lot of teachers are not buying children's books.
No. I know what you're talking, because they have to get it, they have to go, get it approved through the library. So that I know about that, but I'm just saying, but even if them just walking over there, they'll pick it up, and it's like, if it doesn't show what they're looking for, they'll put it back down. It's a children's book. You know what I'm saying? So I don't expect it allowing everybody, but I definitely have looked for it to be sold to other races, and I get way more, of us that'll see it, because there is a Black boy and they have sons, versus somebody of a non-Black person. They see it and it's interesting, it's cute, but it's not enough for them to buy because it doesn't show what they want to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's been that right there was a real eye opener for me. So I definitely know what you're talking about, the challenges in terms of that. But I try to find events to get around that.
I just, and I say this because I don't like to make everything about Black and white, but I do. I sit on a lot of panels. I'm typically the only African-American, and the story of how I got published is just not the same. It feels like there is this other door, which I know there is, but there is this other door that they could walk through. And it becomes, I remember having someone on the panel, and we were talking about having to market our books. And she basically looked at me and said, I've never had to market a book in my life. She's been on the bestsellers list. She's like, I don't market books. I don't take books with me. I've never had to, try to get an agent. I got agents coming to me. I mean, it just felt like, am I missing something here? Like, what's this difference? Anybody have had that experience? And I know they're gatekeepers. I know all this is real. Charlotte, you had,
Yeah, participating in the events that I've been, it's been very diverse. But non-Black readers, when they see you and they see your book, my book does not have people on the cover of it. So you don't know how. So I've learned that depending on who walks up to me, depends on how I have to sell it. But those non-Black readers are very apprehensive at first, because they don't want to read an urban novel. And because you're Black, they're sometimes just going to put you in that category. So it's how you pitch your book obviously is a big deal in changing. But when I look around at the people around me who are not Black authors, they're not working as hard to try to sell it the way I would have to.
I agree. I'm gonna say this. Did someone have something to say?
Yeah. I want to say this, and a lot of this is built on fear. when I tell my tribe all the time, Black people don't have a problem picking up books with white folks on the cover. White folks have a problem picking up, some white folks have a problem picking up books with Black folks on the cover. They'll do vampires, they'll do werewolves, they'll do all of that. But their fear of possibly reading something that will make them uncomfortable, and we're talking race, something uncomfortable, keeps them missing out on some really good literature. We don't all write about, everything isn't always about race in the books. We still have marriage issues, relationship issues, children issues, romance issues. We have the same issues as other ethnic backgrounds. And we're writing about that in our books. Same thing with childhood trauma, all of generational curses, generational excuses. But that doesn't come into play because automatically people's inherent bias or bigotry, all of that comes to the forefront. And it's learned behavior when it comes from, even look at what they're doing in the textbooks in the school. They're trying to soften the blow of what has happened to Black people. They don't want to say slavery. They want to call it something else. They don't want to say that we worked hard or we were damaged. They don't want to say that because it makes them feel guilty. So we're trying to coddle issues of people who really should be learning the truth so they don't repeat that behavior. But because they're believing, oh, it wasn't so bad. You know, now they don't want to be confronted with what their ancestors and their grandmothers and their great grandmothers did. So now we have these people who have these blinders on when it comes to reading books. They can read African, they can read overseas, they can read all of that. But when it comes to our work, there's a little bit of an issue, and we really have to get it out there that that's not all we write.
I think I wrote a piece about a year ago, about 2 years ago. I actually went on to 3, say this real fast, Facebook groups that had over 125,000. These were all book clubs. And I posed the question of how many books have you written in the last year that were written? I mean, how many books have you read in the last year that were written by self-published Black authors? That was the question. In a course of about 2 to 5 hours, I got about 1,500 comments. And I was called a racist for asking the question. And then there was just a major dialogue. And I wrote a piece about this on my medium.com page. So I would love everybody to go read it. But it talks about how there were so many white readers who were saying, first, I'm a racist for asking the question. How dare you ask me if I'm right, if I'm reading books by Black writers? And so many of them were saying they don't pay attention who the reader is, who the writer is. And what's wrong with knowing that it's a Black person who wrote the book? So it's the colorblind. I'm colorblind to the books that I read. So that was one piece of it. Then there was another piece of people who were saying, I'm trying to do better with my kids, meaning I don't read books written by Black people, but I'm trying to do better with getting more books with Black characters in it for my kids. This was the most interesting experience I've had since starting the Black Writers Workspace, because it gave me a clue into the fact that you still have a group of readers who are, like Ms. Kai said, afraid to acknowledge that we are Black and that we have these Black experiences. And so they hide behind the colorblindness of the books that they read. Now, can we hide? No. Because how many of you read Shakespeare in school? How many white writers did you read? Harper Lee.
Can we say we faked read them? Can we say that?
But you got to sign it, right? You got to sign it, right?
Charlie, you did the Cliff Notes. Yeah. You're young though. We old. You didn't get away with that when we was coming along.
So it's this world of we had to read books written by everybody, but they have not had that, had to do that. Ms. Quaye, talk to us a little bit. I mean, you're writing a book about Black women in Mississippi. What kind of responses did you get from non-Black writers?
Non-Black writers?
Readers.
Non-Black readers. The response has been really quite good. And I was thinking from a marketing perspective that I wanted to say that I have, T-shirts and sweatshirts and all of that. And on the cover of my book is a beautiful picture of like 5 or 10 Black women in their hats, and they look like they're going to a church meeting, but they're sitting on the steps of the courthouse in Water Valley, Mississippi, and they're holding these white bags, and we don't know what's in the bags, whether it was a giveaway. Someone said that it might have been part of a washerwoman's strike. So that picture does draw attention. And getting back to the T-shirts and stuff, when I started thinking about how am I going to market this, am I going to say Black women or something? And, because some men would not wear a T-shirt that said Black women. So I honed in onto the name of the county, which is Yellowbusha, which is an Indian name. And I've been to Mississippi 5 times this year alone. And my book has been fairly well received, I think, because people are drawn to the title Yellowbusha, and then they're drawn to the picture, and they want to know a little bit more about the story. So I would say, and as you said, Michelle, when we were at a Mississippi Book Festival a couple of years ago, you were surprised that white people were coming up to the table. I'm not real sure what's drawing them, but I'm glad they are coming, and I'm glad they're reading. Chyna mentioned the college bookstore. Square Books in Oxford is the main bookstore for the university, and I had to convince them to take my book, because they didn't want it because it was published on Amazon. They feel like Amazon is cutting into their business. And I've run into the same issue here in Atlanta and in other markets. So now, they don't want to run out of my book because the students are asking for it, the educators are asking for it. So it's a different world, but I'm glad that they are drawn to it. And the same thing has happened with bookstores throughout Mississippi and Atlanta as well. I've gotten turned down at some white bookstores in Atlanta, but most of the Black bookstores have taken my book.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. Amazon versus Ingram Spark. I have read that if you get your books uploaded to Ingram Sparks, bookstores are more apt to take them because they can return them. There is a whole process behind that. Amazon gets a bad name with that. And so just something for everybody to think about. I'm now no longer solely uploading my book to Amazon because of that reason. I've had people to say to me, I would put it in my store, but it's on Amazon and I can't do anything with it. And I'm like, wow, okay. So there are some things there. We're last 8 minutes. This has been a great conversation. There's still things that we hadn't gotten to, but we have really kind of touched on a lot of the major topics here, which is understanding how we market our books, how unique it is for all of us to market our books, looking at some of the challenges that we're facing. And there are many challenges. And, a lot of times when you start this process, because I know everybody's at different phases of it, but for those of you who are in the aspiring writer or I want to write a book phase, all the things that you need to think about, and just very quickly, you got to think about how you're going to publish it, how you're going to market it, what's going to make it stand out. You have to think about your brand, and branding is an interesting thing. It can be from connecting it to other organizations. It can be, dressing like the person on the cover of your book. It can be creating a logo, a company behind it. So many different things here, but visual appeal is good. We talked about some of the services you need. Editing is my number one. If you don't get your book edited professionally, I have a hard time with that. And I'm not talking about Grammarly. I'm sorry, guys. I'm talking about a professional editor. You need to edit your book. Those are some important things. And just paying attention to where those doors, where those opportunities are that will help you to sell your book, like speaking. And I know Chyna talked a lot about speaking. I want to definitely say when I speak and I come off the stage, I'm going to sell some books, So these are the things. If you are shy, introvert, don't want to do this, don't want to do social media, it's not going to be easy for you to sell your book. It is not going to be easy for you to sell your book. And it doesn't matter how you do it. It's just not going to be easy. So I want to wrap up with letting everybody give a few words of encouragement to our readers and our writers, mostly our writers first, and then to our readers as well. Also ask everyone to drop your contact information in the comment area. If you cannot put it in the private chat, and I'll put it on the comments for you. But I definitely want you to give some words of encouragement to our readers and writers out there. And I want to thank everyone for being with us as well. So let's definitely start with you. Let's go at the start at the bottom. Chyna, let's start with you to give those words of encouragement.
I definitely want to let everybody know that being an author is not an overnight success. So if you're looking to become a millionaire, that's gonna steal your joy from being able to put out the work. So when you come into this, just come into this with a game plan, with a marketing plan. Know who your target audience is. Know how to reach your target audience. And again, step out of those introverted ways, because in order for you to be nationally known, you have to step on national. You got to put yourself on national platforms. You got to put yourself out there. And it may just be as simple as you learning how to just maybe go live for 5 or 10 minutes a day until you get used to people seeing you. You can't worry about what they think of you. You have to get your message out. And don't rely so much on building social media. It can be a tool, but you have to get out. And you have to get out into communities. You have to let people know who you are. So make sure your voice is just as loud offline as it is online.
Excellent. Excellent. Ms. Kai?
Okay, I'm going to cycle back to things I didn't get to say earlier when we moved on. Go where the readers are. People talk about Black bookstores. Go to the library and hold an event there. Sell your books there. The library will also sometimes buy your books and put them on the shelves, but it also will encourage people to get it through Libby and other e-reader sources there. Go where the readers are. Hold an event, a workshop of some sort, like I'm doing with the South Holland Community Center. Is I'm holding a workshop there, a writing workshop, $15, $20, and they're going to hold it by Zoom so it can go nationwide. Anybody can come, and it helps me to build a rapport with covering my own backyard. Also, I don't do consignment. If there's a bookstore that wants it, I'll give them a deeper cut for them to give me a check right then for all of it, because then the weight of the sale goes on the bookstore and not on me to move the product, because now their money is tied up in it. So I don't recommend doing consignment the traditional way. And I tell all of my tribe members, just deeper discount, have them to cut you a check right then, but then they will allow you to come in there and push it. And then they will see that it's worth the investment of getting even more books. That's my tip. Naleighna Kai. You can see me on all platforms, as well as my website, www.naleighnakai.com.
Thank you, Ms. Kai. Quaye?
Just as everyone has said, you have to be your best salesperson. Look for opportunities each and every day. Maybe prepare your own press release and send it out, or a proposal that you might offer to colleges or libraries or whatever venues. But just be prepared. And you may even have to speak for free. Think about that as well. Don't think about charging all the time, and be ready to sell everywhere you go. I have books in the back of my car, t-shirts, sweatshirts, all of that. Just go for it. Go for it.
Excellent. Scarlett?
I agree. Be ready to sell wherever you go. Keep your marketing materials with you at all times. Have things in your trunk. Every opportunity that you are speaking with someone is an opportunity to possibly put yourself out there. You maybe won't sell a book, but you can at least get people talking about them, and they might not read it, but their friends might read it, their co-workers. So it's always good to put yourself, as everyone said, where the readers are. And sometimes the person you're talking to is not your reader, but they will know your reader. So it's constantly keep yourself about book clubs, things like that. Sometimes you might have to give some stuff away to get sales. So be prepared to do that. Sometimes giving your book to one person will result in multiple sales. So don't be scared to promote yourself that way as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Manny?
Just to don't give up. A lot of us writers, because we don't sell books and become a millionaire right away, we're like, what's the point? Just trust the process. It's a long process, especially for writers. So don't ever give up. If you actually have the passion for it and you feel like this book can reach some people and touch people and help them in some way, even if it's fiction, don't give up. Just go to events. If you're an introvert, like they've been saying, get on social media, go live, or just record yourself at home and play it back for yourself. Or if you want, put it on social media if you like it, just to get yourself out there. And do different things to actually put yourself in the spotlight. Like I started modeling, so that kind of, you can't be an introvert doing that. So that kind of helps. But like, just trust the process because it's a problem.
Excellent. That is excellent. Andrew?
Yeah, everybody out there, the hardest part is getting started. And don't let your fears or reservations or whatever prevent you from getting started. Always add tools to your toolbox. So even today, I've jotted down things. Always add tools to your toolbox and be open to challenging yourself, not only just in regards to the topics that you cover, but as other people have said, the way that you approach, engage, interact, all those types of things. And like I said earlier, it really is a marathon versus a sprint. You're playing more of a long game than a short game.
Excellent. Excellent. Julia?
Two things. Relationships are everything. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. Everything that all the panelists have said have been phenomenal, and really believing in what you're doing. Some days are going to be great, some days are going to be horrible, some days are going to be just you're going to be on cloud nine and a door is going to open. Just be ready, but always don't stop. Keep going in the marathon and you'll get there. Getting help, getting coaching, ask advice, even if you have to pay for a session or if somebody gives us something free. Always be looking for the new, the most important. You've done a great thing, even stopping by this panel today. That has been a start. You got names, you got people you can follow on social media so you can learn and grow. Believe you me, it never stops. The growing never stops. I'm always searching and finding. God bless you and everything. I'll put my contact information inside the comments when we get off.
Excellent. I just want to say to everyone out there, please be sure to continue to write. Don't stop writing. As everyone said, we need your words. We need your passion on the paper. So continue to do what you do. And to everyone on the screen, thank you so much for being a part of the Pen Posse. 2 hours, we got through it, answered a lot of questions, had a lot of people to come on and ask good questions. So we want to thank them as well. A couple of things I want to just remind everyone of is that we have a big year ahead of us at the Black Writers Workspace. So we have our first masterclass, which will be held January the 11th with Monica Pierre, who is a 3 times Emmy Award-winning reporter. She's going to be talking about interviewing and speaking. So if you have problems in those 2 areas, she is an excellent person to help with that. So it's a free event. Anything free is virtual, 100% virtual. That's on January 11th. Be sure to register because seats are going fast. We also are going to kick off the Chapter 1 writing competition in a couple of weeks, where we have beta readers that review your work. We give out cash prizes. And so really excited about that. And then we have the Black Ink Book Fair, which is going to take place May 11th in New Orleans. So we do invite everyone to come out and be a part of it. So we have a lot of things happening with the Black Writers Workspace. We will be doing Pen Posse again next month. So we'll have a new topic. And we just hope that everyone continue to stay with us. This will be live on YouTube for life. So if you want to watch these 2 hours, we're going to upload it to Spotify. But our YouTube channel is BW_Workspace. It's going to be on Facebook as well. So thank you all for being a part of this event. So for my panelists, please don't go anywhere. We're going to end the live part of this, but I would like to give you a formal farewell. So have a great Saturday, everyone.